Our sponsor this month is Published, an affiliate of Village Voices. Published offers all author services from writing tips, critiques, manuscript evaluations, and editing, as well as tips to help you become published. If you prefer to self-publish, purchase the step-by-step book on publishing through Amazon, or purchase services a la carte, from formatting to creating custom covers, or even tips to gather endorsements. The staff is headed by 2 professional writers. After your books are published, either trade paper, electronically, or both, purchase marketing tips, web services, book trailers, or turn your book into an audiobook. Publish provides all your writing, publishing, and marketing needs. So give them a call at 941-748-6865. Contact them online at dgould497@aol.com, or go to the website at www.publishedavillagevoices.webs.com. Good afternoon. I'm Donna Lee, and this is Culture Coast, coming to you from the Village of the Arts on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Each week I will talk to local artists and musicians to discover what they do, how they arrived in their field, and what they hope to achieve. Today's guest is Karen Klosky. Klosky.
Like a claw and a snow ski. Klosky.
Klosky. And she is both a musician and an artist, so I get double duty today. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Donna Lee.
Okay, how did you get started in art? Did you go to school for it?
Actually, I had to go to college. And so I was going to major in home ec. I thought, well, if I'm going to go to college, I might as well do something I like, because I used to love to sew in high school. I took home ec in high school, so I thought that would be a perfect fit. Well, it was so nitpicky. You had to have so many stitches in an inch, and it was driving me nuts. And I had a chance to take an elective my second term, and I just thought, well, I'll take drawing. That was offered there under a guy named Bunch. And so I had the assignments, line contour drawings, and I did some moccasins that I used to wear and some other stuff. And I brought it in, and he looked at my work and he said, you have a talent for this. And so I ultimately ended up going to a different school and changing my major to art. I had a double major, art and English.
Now, you said you had to go to college. Was this your parents that said
Yes.
you had to go to college?
Yes. My dad slammed his fist down on the table and said, all Klosky children go to college.
Okay. So what college did you first start at?
I started out in Boone, North Carolina at Appalachian State Teachers College.
And were just going to become a teacher?
Yeah, or
Okay.
get into fashion, design, and that
Home
sort of
ec
thing.
teacher. That was your original idea?
Well, yeah, my dad said go to college and find out what you can do.
And then
take a bunch of stuff and see what happens.
So where did you transfer to?
East Tennessee State University, which was just across the line. Boone is in upper North Carolina, and Johnson City is just over the line, just over the mountains. It was really much nicer over there. It was a more temperate climate. It was a bigger school. The school was about as big as the town I lived in, I came from. And it was a bit of a challenge in that way. But I found a teacher there who was so fantastic, a young guy named John Schrader. He wasn't much older than me, not, maybe 10 years older than his students. He went to the Chicago Art Institute.
Okay.
That's where he was from. And he taught me drawing, watercolor. I took every course he offered. Photography, sculpture.
Okay, so he was three-dimensional. He did both the paintings and the sculptures and forms and things.
He did everything. He was a very talented teacher.
Now, you had other teachers as well in art subjects, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
John Steele he was a printmaker, but he taught painting. I took a course from him.
So you ended up graduating with a...
No, I didn't graduate from there. In my junior year, I got married and got pregnant, and so I dropped out in my junior year.
So you didn't finish, but you got... And what did your father have to say about that?
Nothing much.
Did he at least give you away?
No, nobody gave me away. I just a little marriage in a little college campus chapel,
and put your professional life on hold.
Sort of, kind of. When I went out to California, I was 28 when I went out to California, but I looked younger than my years, and I found out, I was living in Pasadena, and I found out you could go to Pasadena City College if you were a high school graduate, if you were 18 years old, a high school graduate.
And you lived
for
there?
For free. And I lived there. I was working in a steakhouse as a cashier and hostess. I've done all kinds of work to support my art and music. And so you don't get credit for it. You don't get any kind of records that you took these courses. But I took modern women writers. I still read women writers to this day. And I took piano that was a wash because I didn't have a car. Can you imagine living in L.A., no car? But I did. I didn't have a car. And it turned out to be okay because that gas wars went on then. And I used to walk from my apartment to the job. And I remember one day walking to the job, and it was about February, and pretty temperate weather. It was a little cool. And I was walking faster than all the cars were crawling to the gas station down the road. That was the one day I was very glad I didn't have a car.
And does LA have a decent transportation system so you could get around a little bit? Or are they like here?
No, not particularly. I can't say that LA has the greatest bus system.
It's not like New York City, or
not like New York City,
or some of the other places. Some of the places in the Northeast you can live without a car without a problem. But
I lived without a car for 10 years. I didn't have a car for maybe more than that. No, the bus system. It took 2 hours to get to Long Beach. I had some friends out at Long Beach, and it took 2 hours. It just wasn't worth the trip. But walking around, and I'm bumming rides from other students, and I also took voice. Those are the 3 courses I took for free. They were free.
That's cool.
I mean, you could pay $5 if you didn't have it. That was okay. They didn't press you for it. It's Pasadena City College. Then I came back east, and I moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. I had been living in a commune when I was out in California. I lived in a commune in Berkeley, and I left that commune and went through Arkansas on the way back with a drive-away car.
Okay.
And I wrote back to them because I knew the purpose of the commune was to save money and buy some land and go back to farming. So when I wrote them, I said, you ought to check out Arkansas. There's a lot of pretty land and there's a lot of water. So they did. They sent a delegation of 3. They bought some land up in the Boston Mountains in Arkansas.
Boston Mountains in Arkansas.
Right.
Okay. And water. There's water in Arkansas?
There's lots of lakes and rivers. It's a beautiful state, really. I mean, the northwestern corner, that's the prettiest quarter. It's almost a square, Arkansas is, with Little Rock right in the middle. And Little Rock is at the base of the Ouachita Mountains. And that's a pretty town, too. So they did that, and I moved to Little Rock, and I found out about a basic economic opportunity grant, because I didn't have much money. And because once I got married, I didn't get any more help from my parents.
You didn't graduate college.
Well, I always wanted to further my education. Once I got the bug in college is so much more fun and easier than high school. I think graduating from high school is about the hardest thing a kid has to do. Well, I tell kids that so they'll be encouraged. This is the toughest thing you're going to have to do.
And then they keep telling us in high school that college is harder.
It isn't. Not for me, it wasn't.
I don't think it is for most of them. I think it's time to party and...
It's wonderful. College is wonderful. You get exposure to all different kinds of people, all kinds of different subjects. It's a whole world unto itself. And so I got an economic opportunity grant and went to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
Okay.
It was UALR. We called it Euler.
Did you have to drive down from the commune in the mountains to Little Rock for
classes?
I
didn't ever go live in the mountains.
Oh, okay.
No, I went up there. I lived there for a couple of months. But there were lots of ticks, dirt floors. It was pretty tough. I went there for a couple of...
So commuting wasn't necessarily the best way to live?
No, not for me.
Okay.
I'm pretty much a solitary unit now. I have to say one thing about going up there to the farm. It was so beautiful there. I was inspired by the beauty of it, and I wrote the words to Tara's tune. That's where the words started coming together there. Some of them I wrote in Pasadena, but then...
And who is Tara?
Tara is a combination of Terrence and Laura. He spelled his name T-A-R-E-N-C-E, and Laura's last two letters are R-A, and his first two are T-A. So it was kind of for those two people. They were a married couple, and I lived in a Volkswagen bus, a defunct Volkswagen bus on their property on Richland Creek, and...
I've heard your Tara's tune, and maybe we'll even hear that towards the end of the show here, so that we can see what your words and mind were thinking about all that stuff. Now, then you left Arkansas, and what was the next stop?
I stayed in Arkansas a pretty good while. I graduated from University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and I had such a good time going back 10 years later that I even actually made the dean's list once, which is some kind of miracle.
I think when we get a little bit older that we apply ourselves a whole lot more because now it makes sense. Yeah. I think when you come straight from high school and the whole party time mindset, it tends to distract us. And then when we go back and we're in charge of it ourselves, I think we apply ourselves a little more.
Yes. I don't think it would hurt for kids to work for 1 year before they go to college after they graduate from high school.
Appreciate where they might be going rather than...
rather than where's the next party.
Yeah. It really was a lot of partying in college.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I got into the master's. I liked it so well. I went there for a year and a half. I kind of stretched it out because I was really having a good time. I used to go and sketch the art and the music are in the same building at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, Euler. And I made friends in the music department, and I would go and sketch the jazz band. Go in there and just do drawings. And then eventually I was asked to join the jazz choir just as an outsider to come in and sing. I wasn't majoring in music, so.
Right. Is that when you started getting interested in playing?
I'd always been interested in playing. As soon as I got off to college, I met a guy who knew how to play guitar, and he helped me find a Gibson J150 or J100, whatever it was. It's a standard neck guitar. That's a metal string guitar. And he got me started on the guitar, John Rodney Little. I'm forever grateful to him. But I always wanted to be in the band. I wanted to be in the band in high school. But I know it was too expensive, so I didn't get to do that. But I always had the burning desire to play.
Okay.
And so I basically am a self-taught musician.
So you didn't take the classes in college for music?
No, I didn't.
You just took the art classes?
Just took art and English in college. I took that one voice course at
Which
Pasadena.
are two of your specialties. I mean, you do love writing poems and songs, and you're a very well-known artist locally. When did you come to Florida and why?
Yes, coming to Florida. Okay, coming to Florida. Well, anyway, I got to the master's program at University of Arkansas, Little Rock, and did that for one semester. And I went, good grief, I know all this stuff. All I got to do is go to the studio and make art. So coming to Florida, yes. Well, I had moved to Knoxville, and my son was there, and my ex-husband was there, and I got a job with a real estate company, and I made contacts. So, the World's Fair had been in Knoxville. And they had refurbished all this downtown area, and they'd made galleries out of these old homes, and all the arts and music and everything was in this one area. And so I quickly met people and brought my art there and had two galleries, and I met people that played music, and my son plays flute. So he and I were playing flute and all that. And I was pretty well situated there, and I liked it pretty well. Knoxville's a nice town. It's a little bit gray. There's a lot of gray there, It's
compared to Florida with the bright colors that we have here. They're kind of amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I was well established, had a nice boyfriend, you know, the whole 9 yards. And I got a letter from my dad, and he had inherited my grandmother and grandfather's cottage out on Anna Maria Island. And he'd been writing me, asking me about every couple of years if I'd come down and take care of this cottage on Anna Maria Island. Well, I was busy with my life, but I was driving to Little Rock where my brother lived, and he had some stuff there for me, stored for me. And so I said, Keith hadn't gotten his driver's license yet, even though he was 17. I said, Keith, open up that letter and read it and see what Dad wants. Well, what 17-year-old all-American boy doesn't want to go to Florida and live on an island? And he loves to swim. So he badgered me and badgered me. I said, okay, we're going for 2 weeks. And I had a Pinto. He said, I got my guitar and a bathing suit, right? And I packed my stuff. I left my stuff at a friend's because I decided I was going to change apartments when I came back. So I wanted a different apartment. And I got in the car. It was jam-packed full of Keith's stuff. I looked in the rearview mirror, and I couldn't even see out the rearview window. I said, Keith, I got to be able to see out the back. So he had to ditch some of his stuff. But we were jam-packed full in that little Pinto. So we took off for Florida, and that was in 1984. I remember it because of Orwell's book, 1984.
Okay,
August 6th, 1984.
But you were just going on a vacation for 2 weeks, and that's what was in the car, was 2 weeks worth of stuff. How did it end up?
Well, my grandmother, when she left the cottage, my grandfather passed away before my grandmother. She was a snowbird. She lived in Florida in the winter and then in Maryland in the summer. And so there was some dry goods there, but of course they're 5 years old. But there was plenty of dishes and pots and pans and a refrigerator and a stove. And so we just made it.
You never went back for the rest of your stuff?
Never. I went back to get my stuff at my friend's house in Knoxville about 5 years later.
And she kept it all that time?
He kept it all that time in his garage. It was so odd because I left it at Jake's place. So he was married, had a kid and all that, but it was down in the basement, and I had the boxes all set in this one spot. And I went back there, I guess it was maybe 2 years later. Actually, it was 2 years later. But I went back 2 years later, and they were sitting in the exact same spot I had left them. With all this greenery had grown up around their house. So I brought my stuff back. It's mostly art supplies and things like that.
And so you settled on Anna Maria Island in your grandmother's cottage.
Yes.
And now you're here in the Village of the Arts.
Yes.
Why did you leave the island?
That studio, I had a studio in the garage at my grandmother's place, and I was in the house telephoning my friends, inviting them over for my 50th birthday. This is 1995. This dates me, I know, I don't care. And I heard this tremendous explosion, and then I heard another explosion. And I had my bird, you know, I always kept my bird in the rafters of the studio. That one day I had it on my shoulder instead. I put the bird down on the floor, I went to the back door and opened up the back door, and there were flames boiling out of the studio.
Wow.
And it was a windy day. It was June 14th, Flag Day. It was a very windy day, and the wind blew the fire into the house, onto the house. There were separate buildings. It blew it onto the house, caught the house on fire. I got my pocketbook, my dad's camera, and these two roofers from across the street. They were banging on the door, saying, the house is on fire, the house is on fire. Said, and they said, can we get anything? I said, get my guitar. So they got my guitar.
And your bird.
I had the bird. The cats, I didn't know where the cats were, but they turned up, and so the house burned up, and I lost everything. Not everything. I was able to salvage some stuff there. Some pretty amazing stories about what I was able to salvage from what was left. A friend of mine was up by the Holmes Beach Fire Department. That was the only fire department there. And he saw the fire engines coming out, and they got caught in some kind of traffic jam. And he said, I hope that isn't a friend of mine's house, but sure enough was. The outside had those asbestos siding on it from way back in the 20s or 30s or whenever.
Ooh.
And so the outside looked like there was something salvageable, but the inside there was nothing left of the bathroom, nothing left of the studio, just rubble. And there were beams, so you could walk on the beams in the bedroom. And I opened up I had a linen closet, and I opened up the linen closet door, and fire goes up. And I had been turning the linen closet into a art storage area. And I had started at the bottom, fortunately, and I had a plastic box about that big, about that deep, and I had little small watercolors in there in plastic bags. Now the box is all melted and wet and everything, and you know, and all the linens were ruined. But I pulled this box out and pulled the top off, and the bags were yucky. But I opened it up and I pulled out. I had about 100 small watercolors that I was able to salvage. And I had some pieces in the living room. The living room was the least affected by the fire. The other fire departments got there and finally got the fire out. I had put plastic behind some of the drawings. and paintings, or the drawings, not the paintings, but drawings. The watercolors, yes, but acrylics, all the canvases were gone. And one had fallen down behind a bookcase. And when I pulled it out, that frame was all ruined. But when I took it apart, the work between the glass and the plastic was okay. I put plastic behind it because you cannot put artwork on cardboard or you're going to end up with sulfur stains all over it in no time. And I knew this, but I didn't have the money to buy the archival matting. And so that's what I did. I put Visqueen.
So,
sitting on
and
Visqueen.
that worked
So
just fine.
Yeah, I saved a few pieces that way.
And did you have insurance?
There was, I think he had $20,000 worth of insurance, which had been on there for since my grandmother had been there back in it was my great uncles before her. She had.
Oh, that's so sad, losing so much. So that's when you moved to the village?
I tell you, it gives a whole new prospect on stuff. All of a sudden, stuff ain't that important. Lives are important.
The kitties and the bird and family, yeah.
Yeah. I did lose a rabbit. It was in the hutch out back.
It's always heartbreaking when you lose a pet.
Yeah, and I had a squirrel for a pet, and it was free. But that squirrel went in there and died with the rabbit.
Oh.
That killed me the most. Because the oddest thing happened the day before the fire. I was holding the rabbit, and I heard a voice say, "Let it go," and I went, "What?" And I wouldn't let it go. I was selfish. I kept it for myself, and the next day it died in the fire, which had a huge effect on my whole perspective of life.
Okay, would you like to read a poem for us, or recite one of your poems that you've written?
Yeah, I'll do some of my 17-syllable poems.
Okay.
They're senru. Haikus about nature, and senru's about people. Dear Senator, what do I see? Wounded child. Help! Go to next window.
Okay, was that about anybody in particular?
That was about, if you try to get help from the government, the red tape you have to go through.
Okay, it makes a lot more sense where I see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
All right, and how about playing us? Would you rather do Tara's tune or your Dancing in the Trees or something else entirely?
I'll do Tara's tune.
Okay.
Watch the spring turn to green. See the wind through the trees. Birds call, I hear you sing. Tara's tune, lazy afternoon. Dandelions in profusion too. Have you heard Tara's tune? Fresh mown hay, been hot all day. I've been thinking about cool water spout. In your eyes, reflections from the skies. Tara's tune, hazy afternoon. Dandelions, monarch butterflies. Yes, heaven is in your eyes. Rainbow trout, grab your fishing pole. Sunlight streams down through the cold. Hours of time go drifting by. Evening hues, sunset blues, crimson reds, soft breezes led to the night, the stars, the moon, and you. Tara's tune, Tara's tune.
thank you so much. I was hoping we would have more time because I'd like to discuss your Ringling Museum affiliation and things like that, but we have run out of time. I appreciate you coming and joining us on Culture Coast this week.
Thank you very much, Donna Lee. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nightmares. Frightful visions during the night, causing terror and loss of sleep. Daymares. Frightful visions during the day, causing fear and paranoia. Gothmares. Gothic visions that can happen anytime, causing horror and disgust. But sometimes they offer answers. Read Gothmares if you dare. Gothmares, a young adult novel by Al Musitano, available on Amazon and fine bookstores everywhere.
Village of the Arts, the largest artist colony in the state of Florida, located on 42 acres, includes artists, homes, galleries, gardens, and restaurants featuring handcrafted gifts, fine art sculptures, painting, photography, enviro art, healing arts, books, mystics, and musical variety. A few of the galleries are unique in their offerings. Village Voices specializes in books and art created exclusively by Florida residents. The Dancing Crane Gallery offers fine art, custom jewelry, and unique innovative art. The Village Mystic offers all things metaphysical: meditation, massage, mediums, aromatherapy, psychics, shamans, Reiki healing, and the gem mine, where you can mine for your own personal treasure. Yoga Arts offers classes or one-on-one coaching. Musicians and bands can be found throughout the area. Many of the artists and musicians offer classes. Restaurants and bakeries provide respite for the weary and magic for the foodies. Visit during the first Friday Art Walk and stroll through the shops and galleries enjoying free appetizers, wine, music, and demonstrations. For hours and information, please visit the website at www.villageofthearts.com.